Gabby, thank you so much for doing this in short order. What was your reaction when you found out the news about Craig Berube being fired here?
Well, I was a little surprised. I Just because it didn't happen at the end of the year, I thought, okay, once John got in there, he's going to do what a lot of guys do. They're going to wait and see, and he'd have a short leash next year. But obviously, he didn't, and Craig is gone.
Do you think anything changed, Gabby? Like from the reports that they're probably going to stick with him to the announcement this morning that he's gone?
Um, the only thing I could can foresee that have changed would be if John or Matt's talked to players and players didn't mind a change. That would be the only thing that I could see that's changed right now because they haven't been on the job too long. So I mean, uh, they must. But I'm sure they've talked to a lot of people since they've got on the job or before they got the job. Who they you know these thoughts had come into play.
You always have a unique perspective because you've lived this. Do you get the sense as a coach that you could be on the block? Like, do you think Craig Berube had an idea this could be coming after his conversations over the weekend?
Listen, any coach that says they're completely blindsided is lying, because you can feel it. It's they don't talk to you as often. They're a little shy coming into the room after the games, things of that nature. They don't ask you what you think anymore of certain individuals, and so I mean every time. Quite frankly, that I've been let go, except for the time in Minnesota. I was totally aware that it was happening. I was totally aware that it was going to come soon. And so you always have that feeling and you prepare for it mentally in your mind. I think when they say I have no idea, then it's really not the truth.
Now, after having time to digest that season and then understand what's happened since then, what do you think the problem was? Was it strictly an X's and O's system type of thing? Was it a culture thing? Was it a players not buying in thing? And what kind of guy do you think needs to come in to rectify it?
Well, it's interesting to say because I mean, an X's and O's thing, they used the same X's and O's the year before, and they ended up in first place. And they took Florida to 7 games, the only team to do that. So I can't
Mm-hmm.
believe it's that. I mean, I don't know what the culture would have changed with Mitch Marner being gone and a couple new players that were probably just very quiet players. They're not going to change any of the culture. I don't know what would change. Maybe some guys just everybody decided to have a bad year at that time, or maybe like I mean they decided to turn a blind eye, and they did it last year, the year before, because it was Craig's first year. But this year they just didn't like playing that way, and they wanted to get back to the old way. But they were definitely nowhere near as good defensively. They had more injuries than the year before. There was a lot of things that didn't go right. I mean, I had picked Matthew Nyes to potentially get 35 goals and be a budding superstar just to join in with that group, and he didn't have a good year, and it's rare for a guy in his third year not to be good when he's on a trajectory of upswing. So I don't know if the room got worse, if players just decided, I don't like doing this, but there was some reason, and I can't put my finger on it yet because I'm not there. So, I mean, of why the Leafs, especially the last half of the year, were so bad defensively when I know Craig really prides himself on having a good defensive team. That's what won it in St. Louis. So it's it, it's so far it's a little bit of a mystery to me.
It is, and we've been talking all show how the marriage never made sense between Chaika specifically and Craig Berube. But ultimately, do you think it was the right decision to move on here? And like, I could even throw it into a conversation we've had about like the number one overall pick. Do you think that played sort of an impact in all this too?
Well, I don't know why the number one pick would have an influence. You know, a lot of people out there think that, oh, he's a young player. We got to get a young guy in there who can identify and communicate with them. But I go the opposite way. I think I look at Joel Quenneville. I look at Tortorella. I look at Lindy Ruff. I mean, they're all guys in their 60s, and they seem to have great communication with the guys that they're playing with. So I mean, because I think the older guys, and Craig was what I would put into one of the older guys category. Uh, they're way more understanding, and they're not just X's and O's. But I mean, there's a lot going into that. There's a lot more going into coaching than there is just X's and O's. So, but maybe they're when they met that their um, their values or their way they wanted to approach the team were totally different. I don't know.
Hmm. Now, Gabby, do you think there's a time crunch for this organization to get a guy in that place, or do you think they're going to take their time with it?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a time crunch necessarily. I mean, what's a coach do right now? I mean, they're not out scouting. They're not at the worlds. They're not. They're usually just getting ready to go over what they're going to plan. They're planning on for next year. So, I mean, I think they would like to have somebody in before the draft. That's because then the coach pretty well knows, or definitely before free agent day on in July 1. Because you know, I think a good GM and a good coach, they have good communication, and they know, and they've gone over what kind of team they think should work in that situation. And so it might, for free agents especially, why not pick the brain of a coach who might know some of these players that are out there? I mean, it seems dumb to me that if you don't use any asset that you can possibly use to get better. And as far as coaches go, I mean, uh, you know, like there's no need right now. The playoffs are going on. There's no need to have them in place by tomorrow. But I think at the same time, before June or July 1st, you want the coach in there because he wants to prepare, and like a good coach will start preparing pretty early. Like I knew what, like I have my whole staff come in the day after you know, the August holiday, and no matter when camp was, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, we started working every day and preparing, getting ready, because we want the players to come in and think, wow, these guys are really on the ball. They really know their stuff, and uh, they're really prepared. And I think anybody that is a coach feels the same way. So no need right now, but definitely get your ducks in a row because you want to hire them before July 1.
Would this be an attractive job around the league, you think?
Come on. I mean, it's Toronto. You know, like there's two things here. You either uh, embrace fear or you relish in it. Like I mean, like I would sit there like when I went to Vancouver, they asked me the same question about being in a Canadian market, and that I'm going, man, you want to embrace it because the belief is if you win, this is going to be the greatest place on earth. Nobody thinks that I'm going to go in there or anybody's going to go in there and fail. So I think that every coach out there, um, uh, if they don't think the team is on upwards spiral, I mean, they'll a good coach will believe that they can help turn it around to make it that upward spiral. So I mean, I don't think anybody's going in saying, and I'm you can take any coach right now. If it was Scotty Bowman at 94, he'd say I can make that team better. But I don't think anybody would sit there and say, well, I don't want to go in there. They're going to be no good for 10 years. I think there's not a coach out there that would say that. And Toronto is probably the one position that everybody would love to have. There's so many Ontario natives, especially that are out there that are not coaching right now. That want to coach would love the Leaf job.
Lastly, I just want to talk about the process again because you've lived it. How would this work? You'd contact your agent, they would contact the Leafs, and off you go. And along those lines, like the interview process, what are a couple things that, as somebody who would be coming into the mix, that you'd want to know about, like this job and what's going on here in Toronto?
Well, I mean, if you have an agent, you would have been on the phone to him already. Hey, Leaf job's available. Leaf job's available. Go talk to him. Or the next thing you know is you want to find a way. I like to think any coach would or any proposed coach or whatever the word is would want to find some way to get in and talk to them, because the best way to get a job is to sell yourself. And the best, you can't do it with you can do it a little bit with an agent, can get your foot in the door. A resume can go, oh, that's pretty good. But when you talk to them, whoever it is, and you sell yourself and you sell your passion and you sell your ideas and your ideas for the future on how it's going to be, that's how you're going to get the job.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.